When discussing who the best director of the generation is, there are two names that get consistently brought up. Those names being Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan. Both have created some of my favorite films of all time, and both have created two of the best sci-fi films in the past few years. Those films being Arrival and Interstellar. Both films just so happen to be more similar than you might think. In this video, I'm going to discuss what makes these films so great, how you can incorporate these techniques into your own work, as well as which film I believe is better. Friends, let's get into the controversial. Let's get into Interstellar versus Arrival.
Are you the sheriff in this here town?
A constant theme in both films is looking at how massive worldwide macro events have micro effects on the individual and their families. Both movies focus on a lead character who, in the wake of some kind of death in the family, finds a scientist who asks them to use their specialities to help the world in some kind of extraterrestrial threat. In Interstellar, we follow Cooper, who after
the death of his wife
must use his skills as a pilot to lead a spaceship to save humanity. The film repeatedly shows us how close Cooper and his daughter are. By setting up how close Cooper and his daughter are in the first scene, Interstellar effectively establishes the stakes of the film. When an audience is shown an apocalyptic situation where billions of people die, it tends to be difficult for them to care. By connecting the audience to Cooper and Murph, we see the apocalypse from their perspective. To Cooper, the apocalypse means that Murph will be in danger.
Why? You're not listening! It says stay!
So the audience doesn't care about the mass public, they care about Cooper and Murph, a beautiful father-daughter relationship that drives the emotional core of this movie.
Work for me. What I'm up there.
Wait, doesn't Cooper have a son?
I mean your job.
Arrival opens with a montage of Louise bonding with her daughter in various points in her daughter's life, showing off how happy she is to be a mother.
Come back to me.
Stick 'em up!
Are you the sheriff in this here town? These are my tickle guns, and I'm gonna get you.
No.
However, this montage isn't all rainbows and sunshine. There's something just ever so slightly off about the happy initial montage. Firstly, the father figure is never shown, which is suspicious. Also, hearing somber music over happy imagery is off-putting and puts the audience on edge, as if they're preparing for something else. These two details signal to the audience that everything is not as it seems. And then, we're shown her daughter tragically dying.
Come back to me. Baby, come back to me.
Following the death of her daughter, the world is visited by over a dozen alien ships, and a scientist from the government asks Louise to help them. The reason is that Louise is an expert linguist, and they want her to help them communicate with the aliens.
Human. I'm human. What are you?
Louise pours her heart and soul into the project, making strides every single day to further contact with the aliens. It's hard to tell a clear winner for this round, so let's just call it a tie. Extraterrestrial discoveries. As the film ventures further into new discoveries, the audience learns more about not only the world, but the main character and their family. Macro events with micro ramifications. By traveling through space, Cooper's missing out on his daughter's childhood. The challenge he faces is that he needs to put enough time and effort into saving humanity, meanwhile not taking so long that his daughter spends a lot of time without him. So despite the fact that on the surface the team is embarking on a world-saving mission, Cooper only sees it as a way to save his daughter. This especially comes to a head when they arrive on the water planet. It's a great tool in storytelling to establish the main character's biggest fear and then make that fear become a reality. Christopher Nolan does this to perfection in this scene. The team needs to get something from a ship on a water planet. It sounds easy enough, but the problem is that 1 hour on this planet is equivalent to 7 years on Earth. This pushes the theme that time is precious.
Am I gonna make it?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
After things don't work out the way they wanted it to, Cooper finishes that journey only to find out that 23 years have passed on Earth.
I've waited years.
How many years?
By now it must be.
It's 23 years, 4 months, 8 days.
The real emotional kick of this scene is when Cooper watches the tapes of his daughter Murph.
And today I'm the age you were when you left. So it would be a real good time for you to come back.
If Cooper had been a loner with no family, this series of events would have absolutely no dramatic weight. Missing out on 23 years is hard for an audience to sympathize with because they've never experienced anything like that in their lives. The key to making the audience feel sad is to force them to think about a similar situation in their own life. Sure, they would have felt bad for the character, but they'd have no way to relate it to anything in their own life. Feeling like you've missed out on an important event in someone's life who's important to you is something that everyone has gone through. Being afraid of being a parent who isn't involved in their child's life is an almost universal fear. Now imagine missing out on every single life event in your daughter's life.
Today's my birthday. And it's a special one because you told me you once told me that when you came back we might be the same age.
I swear I remember him having a son in this movie. Arrival follows the same rule regarding macro events with micro ramifications. 12 alien spaceships have landed all over the world. Every country is struggling to find clear communication with the aliens, and it's only a matter of time until world governments get frustrated, stop communicating, and make mistakes. However, what the film focuses on is Louise pouring her all into work.
Here, Louise is putting us all to shame. The first breakthrough was to discover that there's no correlation between what a heptapod says and what a heptapod writes.
By showing Louise work so hard alongside flashbacks of her daughter, it signifies to the audience that this is all she has. She has a dead daughter to grieve over and no husband to help her with. All that Louise has is work.
Help me, Mama.
Louise?
Mom.
By having Louise follow her calling, it gives her life entirely new meaning. Her mundane life as a professor is done with for now, while she tries to bridge the gap between the man and the species that they're trying to understand. So with the information I've laid out, it should be kind of obvious that Interstellar wins this round. I mean, having a worldwide apocalypse symbolize a father's struggle to keep his rich relationship with his daughter is greater than a lady finding some job. So obviously Interstellar wins this category, right? Well, that is until we get to the twist. Both films have twist endings that flip the entire movie on its head, even changing some of the things I've already laid out in this video. So if for whatever reason you still haven't seen these movies and you've gotten this far into the video, I'm going to spoiler warning the crap out of it. There you go. Towards the beginning of Interstellar, Murph sees an odd occurrence in the dust in her room. Murph insists that a ghost is responsible for it, however, Cooper believes it's changing in the Earth's gravity that's causing it. Cooper goes to the location that the dust spells out, and this leads him to meet his old boss that starts the crazy space-time journey throughout the film. The twist comes in when Cooper gets sucked into a black hole and realizes that he can manipulate space-time like some kind of omniscient god.
Don't let me leave, Murph. Don't let me leave, Murph. No! No! No!
So here's where Cooper and the audience realize that Cooper was Murph's ghost all along, meaning that Cooper's responsible for Cooper leaving and saving the world, which may seem like it doesn't make sense to people who don't understand black holes, but I just so happen to watch Rick and Morty, so allow me to explain. You see, this isn't a plot hole because black holes mess with time, so Cooper just has to, slip through the space-time, fuck it, I'm just gonna let someone who's a lot smarter than me explain it.
We have three dimensions that we're familiar with. On a grid, you might think of it as what street in New York, what street, what would you give a place? Floor in a building require four numbers. These are three coordinates. Four coordinates. Remember, however, that if you go to a higher dimension, it's not unrealistic to think that you step out of the time dimension, and now you look at time as though we look at space.
You what?
The twist in Arrival is one of the most jaw-dropping plot twists I have ever seen. The film started with a montage of Louise spending time with her daughter. Throughout the film, we see scenes of Louise reacting to images of her and her daughter. Given film conventions, we as the audience assume that these images are flashbacks, events that happen before the events of the movie. However, all this is changed by one line Louise gives to the aliens as soon as she meets them.
I don't understand. Who is this child?
My face when I heard this line was one of absolute shock. So the reveal goes like this. The heptapods can see time in a circle rather than as a straight line as we do. So as Louise gets closer to understanding their language, she gets closer to seeing time in the same way that they do. So she can see all points in her life at the same time rather than just one. So all these images she sees in her life are actually flash forwards instead of flashbacks.
Are you gonna leave me like Daddy did?
Oh, Hannah, honey, your daddy didn't leave you. You're gonna see him this weekend.
He doesn't look at me the same way anymore.
This changes everything about the film, as well as everything I've already said. So she didn't join the cause to distract herself from the loss of her daughter, because she never had a daughter. So she joined the cause out of genuine care for the world, or boredom of her own life, or maybe some kind of combination of the two. However, the biggest implication of this twist isn't what it has on past events of the story, it's the future. So now Louise knows every major event that will happen in her life. Sometimes she needs to solve present problems by using information that she'll gain in the future. Yeah, time fuckery. But the best part isn't the macro event, it's the micro effects that it has on the main character's life.
I told him something that he wasn't ready to hear.
What?
Believe it or not, I know something that's going to happen. I can't explain how I know, I just do. And when I told your daddy, he got really mad. And he said I made the wrong choice.
She knows what sequence of events need to take place in order for her to get married, have a daughter, and then lose that family. She knows that if she talks to Donnelly, then the two of them will fall in love, have a child, and then suffer the brutal loss of that child. Also, she knows that she will tell him eventually through guilt that she knew it would have happened the whole time, and that because of her telling him this, he would divorce her. Louise knew all of that tragedy would face the two of them if she started a relationship with him, and yet she does it anyway. This ending broke me. My jaw was hanging to the floor for the entirety of the last 20 minutes of this film. The idea that Louise knew all of the tragedy she would bring to Donnelly, and yet does it anyway, is heartbreaking. Imagine doing that to the person you love most in the world. Imagine getting married knowing it would end because of your action. Imagine having a baby willingly knowing that she would contract an incurable disease and it would kill her at a young age. Imagine confronting your spouse and telling them that your daughter will die of an incurable disease and there's nothing you could do about it. Imagine telling them that you knew this would happen ever since you met them and you're just telling them about this now. Or better yet, imagine having your spouse do all of those things to you instead. It's just heartbreaking. Filmmaking. Let's briefly talk about the filmmaking of both films, because that's an important aspect of movies that really doesn't get brought up enough as it should. Firstly, Interstellar is one of the most visually stunning movies ever made, and that is a fact. The craziest thing about these visuals is the dedication to practical effects. It's kind of amazing how much this film actually isn't CGI. The space shots just simply look immaculate.
Approaching the event horizon. Side.
Christopher Nolan actually bought miles of cornfields just to shoot the opening scene. The acting from Matthew McConaughey is particularly strong, but the acting all around is fantastic. Furthermore, Hans Zimmer's score elevates every single scene, and it brings you to the edge of your seat every time. Arrival's visuals are also stunning. There are tons of breathtakingly wide shots that just go on for so long. The look of the heptapods are wholly original to this film. Amy Adams once again delivers a fantastic performance. She's just great in everything I've seen her in, and her performance in Arrival is probably my absolute favorite. You just have to give credit to Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve for the incredible films that they've made here. Obviously, both films are some of the best sci-fi we've gotten in the past few years. Both focus on how big events can affect individuals and their families. Interstellar boasts world-class acting, some of the best visuals ever put to film, and out-of-this-world concepts that forces us to think about how we can be better family members. Arrival excels in Oscar-worthy acting, forcing you to see things from other characters' perspective and blowing you away with its twist ending, as well as forcing you to wonder how world powers would react in this kind of situation. In the end, I believe the winner here to be Arrival. Arrival suffers from far less issues than Interstellar does. I believe the twist in Arrival to be far more impactful than the one in Interstellar. I felt more for the daughter in Arrival than the daughter in Interstellar. Also, I genuinely believe that the ending of Arrival is one of the best endings to any film ever. Who knows, maybe I'll make a video like I did on Whiplash. Maybe. Also, let me know which movie you think is better. Do you agree with me, or am I dead wrong and need to shut my stupid face? Also, I post new videos just like this one every other Thursday, so you should subscribe if you want to see more. Also, you should follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I also published a book. The first chapter is available for free if you want to check it out on Amazon. Links to everything are in the description below. Goodbye.